Did you know? In Animal Crossing New Leaf at exactly 3:30 a.m. on Sunday and Monday, the regular TV static is interrupted by a message from aliens. Another show can be seen at 6:30 a.m. that shows people exercising. This actually references Japanese culture and is a nod to Raijo Taiso. The broadcast is essentially an exercise program shown every morning in Japan and aims to keep the nation healthy. New Leaf has several unused concepts. While developing ideas to distinguish New Leaf from previous games, the team considered adding a new tool allowing players to pan for gold. The concept of having the player take on the role of the town's mayor actually wasn't introduced until about a year into development. The team already decided that the game's focus would be allowing a player to customize the entire town, but when they were asked to pitch the game to Nintendo veterans Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka, they realized they needed a better way to summarize their concept. To explain the player's expanded influence over the town, the team made them the mayor. There's an interesting leftover that's hinted at while choosing the location for a public works project. If the player talks to Isabelle about the projects after forcing her into the beach area, she'll advise that the location is too close to the ocean. Normally, Isabelle stops the player before they reach the beach, so this dialogue may suggest that it was once planned to build public works projects on the beach. There's more interesting secrets that can't normally be seen. The computer monitor in the mayor's office is normally out of view due to the fixed camera angle. Unlocking the camera reveals that it actually displays an image of the town's previous mayor, Tortimer. Moving the camera also reveals a small trick by developers present in every main Animal Crossing game. Zooming out or rotating the camera reveals the game's world is generated in a literal cone shape. Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer allows players to fully customize their homes. This was inspired by the team's own experiences making villager homes for this series. Series producer Aya Kyogoku told GamesBeat about the process of designing villager homes, saying, "We had to think about, what kind of things would this animal like? What kind of life do they lead? Trying to figure out what they'd want was very fun, and we tried to think of a way we could get this kind of experience to players as well." The team experimented with giving the player a budget for decorating their home, but they felt this limited creativity and the idea was scrapped. Animal Crossing Wild World contains a particularly problematic type of item hidden in its data. The items, referred to as seeds, take effect when dropped from the player's inventory and spawn landscape features, such as trees, houses, and even villagers. Any changes made with the seeds will become permanent once the player saves. Seeds are used by the game to generate town layouts and can only be accessed by players through the use of cheat devices like Action Replay. While many players made use of seeds to customize their towns, some malicious players used them while visiting other towns over Wi-Fi to render areas inaccessible. At worst, they would spawn so many objects that the host's game would crash as soon as it loaded the title screen, rendering their save data totally unplayable. Wild World's sequel, Animal Crossing City Folk, was intended to include several new features and changes that ultimately didn't make the cut. When discussing how to make an Animal Crossing game for the Wii, the development team wondered if the game's characters should be replaced by Miis. This was done early on as an experiment, but the end result came across as strange and unpleasant, and the idea was dropped. Aya Kyogoku, who would go on to direct, wanted to take advantage of WeConnect 24 by including a feature where players could visit their friends' towns even if they weren't there. Technical issues made this impossible to achieve in City Folk, but the concept was brought back in New Leaf as the Dream Suite. There are also several special Nintendo-themed items that were meant to be available through the City Folk's point system, but for unknown reasons were never used. They would later be brought back in New Leaf. In the original Animal Crossing, there's an unused squirrel villager that fans have nicknamed Blazel, due to looking like a cross between the characters Bliss and Hazel. The only dialogue Blazel is programmed with is one of Captain's lines, and if they're hacked into the game, they'll recite random villager dialogue. For reasons unknown, Blazel is grouped with the game's special non-playable characters in the game's data. Porter, the monkey who works at the train station, is based on a Japanese song called The Monkey Palanquin Carrier. Two other characters with Japanese connections are Gracie and Saharah. In the West, these characters are both female. In Japan, however, they're male, and named Grace and Roland. Isabelle, the player's secretary in New Leaf, is named Shizu in Japan, which appears to be a pun on the fact that Isabelle is a Shih Tzu breed of dog. KK Slider, known as Totaka in Japan, is said to be based on series music composer Kazumi Totaka. Totaka has left a 19-note tune named Totaka's Song in many of the games he's worked on, including Animal Crossing titles. The song appears in every game as KK Song, a special tune that KK Slider will play upon request. Totaka's Song is also featured as the background music for the Who's Done It e-reader minigame. In City Folk, if the player waits long enough in Captain's cab to the city, the song is one of several that Captain will whistle. Similarly, in New Leaf, if the player spends several minutes riding the boat to Tortimer Island, Captain will whistle Totaka's Song. Though this is only possible if there's a severe amount of lag, making it difficult to encounter. Perhaps the most obscure place where Totaka's song has been hidden is on the official European microsite for New Leaf, where clicking on the picture of KK Slider in the background will cause the song to play. The chords and rhythm of the songs performed by KK Slider seem to be tailored for a guitar. Though this might seem obvious, it has some complicated implications. MIDI music is usually composed on a keyboard and edited in software, or composed directly into a computer with software. It's highly unlikely that Totaka had custom hardware and software connecting a guitar to his computer. Because of this, it seems that KK's songs were composed on guitar first, or at least composed to mimic how they would sound on guitar. The music even has notes offset slightly before and after each other to mimic the movement of a hand strumming over guitar strings. Another interesting observation is that KK Slider has only 3 fingers, but some of the chords in his songs require 4 fingers. This means they could be potentially impossible for a 3-fingered animal to play. Animal Crossing was originally developed for the Nintendo 64's DD add-on. When the 64 DD ultimately proved to be a failure, the project was retooled and released as a standard N64 game titled Dobutsu no Mori, or Animal Forest. However, a few things had to be changed during the transition. The game was intended to make use of the 64 DD's internal clock, allowing the game world to change in real time. Because the basic N64 lacked this feature, Animal Forest included a battery-powered clock built into the cartridge itself. Animal Forest was eventually ported to the GameCube as Animal Forest Plus, which was released internationally as Animal Crossing. The game was rolled out in some form or another in most regions between 2001 and 2004. However, it wouldn't see a release in China until 2006, when the original Animal Forest was released for the iQue player. The iQue was a Chinese video game console that could play select N64 games available for download via PC or special kiosks. Only 14 games were ever brought to the system, and the service was discontinued in late 2016. Before Animal Crossing released in the West, the localization team had to change or remove many elements that were too specific to Japanese culture. To compensate for the cut events, 16 new holidays were added, including Groundhog's Day, Valentine's Day, April Fool's Day, Halloween, and Toy Day, which parallels Christmas. Following the success of Animal Crossing, Nintendo released another enhanced port exclusively in Japan titled Animal Forest E+. This version retained the extra content in Animal Crossing while also adding many new features. Though a number of E+'s features were passed on to future titles in the series, some remained exclusive to E+ for years. For example, E+ expanded on the e-reader functionality introduced in Animal Crossing. By scanning the corresponding cards, players could choose which neighbors moved into their town. This feature wouldn't resurface until the release of the Welcome Amiibo update for New Leaf in 2016. Players could also hire Tom Nook to build objects, such as street lamps and a water mill to decorate the town. Several of these objects would eventually return as public works projects in New Leaf. E+ also contains a couple of exclusive hidden features. If the player visits Tom Nook's shop after hours and hits the door with a shovel 3 times, they'll be greeted by a sleepy Tom Nook dressed in his pajamas. The player will only be allowed to buy the items on display, and everything will be sold at a significantly higher price. Should the player encounter Mr. Resetti 6 times in the original Animal Crossing, he'll order them to repeat what he says by typing it out. The player can trigger an Easter egg by instead typing in certain phrases such as dirtbag, butthead, bite me, I hate you, moles suck, and die. Doing so will make Mr. Resetti even angrier, and he'll tell the player they should be ashamed of themselves. While Mr. Resetti's tirades are a staple of the franchise, they prove to be too intense for some players. In an Iwata Asks interview, former president of Nintendo Satoru Iwata mentioned, Mr. Resetti's abrasive tone actually made some young girls cry. When the creator of Animal Crossing, Katsuya Eguchi, started working at Nintendo, he had to move more than 300 miles away from his friends and family. In an interview with Edge magazine, Eguchi said, Animal Crossing features 3 themes: family, friendship, and community. But the reason I wanted to investigate them was the result of being so lonely when I arrived in Kyoto. When I moved there, I left my family and friends behind. In doing so, I realized that being close to them, being able to spend time with them, talk to them, play with them, was such a great and important thing. And that was the impetus behind the original Animal Crossing. He also explained that he wanted to design a game he could share with his family, even when they weren't able to play together. This isn't the only part of Animal Crossing that's been influenced by a developer's family life. According to director Hisashi Nogami, Animal Crossing Wild World was particularly popular with the family of fellow Nintendo designer Hideki Kono. Kono's wife spent a great deal of time in the game fishing, much to her son's annoyance. When her son would play the game, the town's villagers commented that she does nothing but go fishing. This interaction served as an inspiration for the Wii Connect 24 features in Animal Crossing City Folk. Did you also know that Mario Kart's battle mode was designed before the actual racing mode? Or that Mario Kart 8 was planned to have a drill power to dig underground? For more Mario facts, check out the annotation to watch the DidYouKnowGaming video on Mario Kart. Don't forget to subscribe for more facts and trivia, and if you like this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing.